In this lesson, we're going to look at how to write good introductions and conclusions for Academic Writing Task 1. So first, we'll look at 4 different examples of introductions, and we'll try and build on each to show what makes a good introduction and the type of language you need to use in an academic introduction for Task 1. After that, we'll look at how to write good conclusions. So to begin with, if we look at this example task, which is from Lesson 3, to see the completed task, go back to Lesson 3, but here we'll just focus on the introduction and conclusion. So as I said, we're going to look at 4 examples of introductions and see why they're good and why some are bad. So the first one here, we've just repeated the task itself. Now this is bad because we haven't reworded, we haven't done anything. We've just repeated the task. So this is a bad example. So what we need to do is we need to make some changes. So here in example 2, we've made a few changes. So it's getting a little bit better. Here we've said the bar chart illustrates the proportion of total workforce. So we've made a change in the verb from shows to illustrates. We've also made another change here, and we've also changed in the 3 different sectors of employment from in different employment sectors. And finally, we've said in 3 different countries from in 3 countries. So a few changes. So it's a little bit better, but I think we can do much better. So looking at the bar chart, we should use some more information from there. So in example 3 here, we've done that. So the bar chart compares the proportion of workers employed in the service, agriculture, and industrial sectors. So we've made, again, a change with the verb, and we've changed the percentage to the proportion. And here, getting information from the graph, we've said each of the sectors themselves, and we've named the different countries. So example 3 is clearly better than example 2. However, I think we can do a little bit better. So in the final example, we've tried to use the passive tense. So here we've changed the sentence, still using information from the bar chart, a little bit making changes from the task itself, but we've used the passive tense. So India and Australia is illustrated in the bar chart. This is clearly a much better example. Now, if we look back at the task here, let's turn to how to write a good conclusion for Academic Task 1. Here we have 2 examples of conclusions, and we're going to compare them and see what makes them good and bad. Firstly, the good conclusion, and here it says, to sum up, the data clearly indicates that the economies of Japan and Australia have a similar distribution of workforce compared to that of India, which has a high proportion employed in the agricultural sector. Now this is a good conclusion because it has a good concluding statement to sum up, and it says the data clearly indicates. So it's drawing the information from the data itself and clearly summing up that information of the main similarities and differences in the distribution of the workforce in those 3 countries. However, if we look at the bad conclusion, it introduces these points. Japan and Australia have a more advanced workforce, and India has much less income to spend, and as a consequence. Now, this is the writer's opinion. So in the conclusion, we want to avoid giving an opinion. That is not the task. In Academic Task 1, you're simply asked to describe the data. So you want to avoid giving your opinion. So that's why this is a bad conclusion. So finally, things to remember for Academic Task 1. For the introduction, do not just copy the task. You need to reword or paraphrase the information given from the task itself and some information from the diagram or the chart. Use the present tense and, if you can, the present passive. For the conclusion, remember to summarize the main information and not explain or give your opinion about the data. To download a copy of this writing or the podcast, visit English Online Australia.